Welcome to The Explainer. Everything you thought you knew about immigration and the economy, yeah, it's probably entirely backward. Today, we're unpacking a massive 2015 data study on UK service firms. And let me tell you, the numbers completely shatter the common sense narrative. We are skipping the political noise today. We're going straight to the hard methodology. Prepare for a massive reality check. So let's just address the elephant in the room right up front. The loudest narrative out there. Immigrants cross borders, they train resources, they steal local jobs. We hear it constantly. But is it mathematically true? The researchers collected granular data across hundreds of local labor markets to test this exact assumption. Let's see what the numbers actually say. Okay, here's your first data face slap. For every 1% increase in immigrants in a local market, a local firm's productivity absolutely does not drop. It surges by 1 to 2%. In macroeconomics, that is a massive leap. They aren't weighing companies down at all. They're actually making them leaner, faster, and vastly more efficient. Which brings us to Section 2. Who moved your cheese? Let's talk about the outsourcing myth. Just follow the logic here. Step 1. A firm is bleeding cash and desperately needs to cut costs. Step 2. The traditional corporate move is to outsource that work overseas to a cheaper market. But then Step 3 happens. They find an immigrant locally who can do the job. The result? The firm saves money, but the job stays right there in the UK. Immigrants aren't replacing native locals. They're replacing offshore contractors. Academics actually call this the import substitution effect. Think of it as a corporate secret weapon. Companies cut costs, sure, but they don't have to ship the work thousands of miles away. By hiring local foreign talent, they completely bypass the overseas middleman. The work, the resources, and the capital stay entirely in-house. It's a brilliant economic defense mechanism that most people completely ignore. Moving to Section 3, the secret weapon for cutting costs. Because, as we'll see, not all jobs are created equal. This is where the economists' methodology gets really brilliant. They didn't just lump all jobs together like older, flawed studies did. They divided the service sector into 3 distinct categories: technical, legal, and language. Avoiding the trap of treating a software engineer exactly the same as a corporate lawyer is the absolute key to understanding this entire data set. Here is the dividing line. Technical jobs, they run on global standards. Math is math, code is code. You can outsource that easily to anyone with an internet connection. But legal and language services, those are intensely cultural. They require deep, unspoken, institutional knowledge. You literally cannot offshore a nuanced local contract. This makes immigrants the ultimate culturally fluent substitute for overseas workers. And the hard data confirms this substitution perfectly. A 3% increase in immigrants in a local area causes a direct 1% drop in overseas outsourcing for those specific cultural services. It's a direct trade-off. The math is undeniable. The more foreign talent a city absorbs locally, the less money that city bleeds to foreign offshore companies. On to Section 4, the super insider for earning foreign exchange, going from cost cutter to moneymaker. This right here is the true multiplier effect. The data gets even crazier. For every 1% increase in immigrants from a specific country, a local firm's exports to that exact same country just explode by 6 to 10%. It's absolutely staggering. You hire someone from a foreign market, and suddenly your local sales to their home country skyrocket. Why does this happen? Because immigrants act as cultural translators. If a UK firm tries to export to an Anglo-Saxon market, barriers are low. It's easy. But targeting non-Anglo-Saxon markets, the cultural and language barriers are massive. An immigrant employee bypasses those barriers entirely. They know the unwritten rules. They become an instant, highly lucrative bridge for exports. Section 5. But what about native jobs? Time for the ultimate reality check. You might still be thinking, sure, corporate profits and exports are up, but aren't native workers suffering? To prove this wasn't just a fluke, researchers applied incredibly strict statistical controls. They tracked actual native employment across these exact same labor markets. They didn't just look for loose correlations. They ran rigorous, highly complex tests to prove direct cause and effect. The math leaves absolutely no room for guessing. The result is a total reversal of popular bias. The myth? Native unemployment spikes. The absolute fact? Native employment actually grows. Why? Because when firms use immigrants to cut outsourcing and multiply exports, the whole company expands. And when companies expand, they hire more native workers to manage that explosive growth. It is a perfectly complementary ecosystem. Section 6. Why were previous studies blind? Well, they were looking in the wrong places. If this dynamic is so powerful, how did decades of experts completely miss it? Because they were looking at the wrong economy. Older studies stared exclusively at factories and manufacturing. They entirely ignored the massive, modern services sector. But services are exactly where language, culture, and institutional knowledge drive the bottom line. It was a massive academic blind spot. However, as objective analysts, we have to critique our own data. This specific study relies on numbers from 1999 to 2005, so it perfectly captures the 2004 EU expansion. But it completely misses the 2008 financial crash, and it misses the massive, chaotic complexities of Brexit. The foundational logic holds up beautifully, but we must always acknowledge the strict boundaries of our datasets.
Section 7. Facts are more expensive than bias. The truth hurts, but it really pays.
The data presents an undeniable, uncomfortable truth for many. Immigrants are actually a local economy's secret weapon. They fight offshoring, they boost productivity, they kill overseas contracting, and they multiply exports, which directly drives native hiring. So when the hard numbers are laid out right in front of you, do you choose to believe the comforting bias, or do you believe the data? Thank you for joining this explainer. See you next time.